Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're going through the Hawthorn Hawks fantasy preview for 2025, in which they have an interesting one. I believe that they are on the opening round opening round, so they actually play in it. Opening round against Sydney and have the round 4 bye, which is slightly helpful that they have round 4, but not really too helpful. So this is being recorded on the 11th, and I'm just checking here, 20th, so 21st, 22nd, 23rd. I believe this is on Christmas Eve, this one's getting released on, so there's, for those people out there going to celebrate that. But anyway, let's just jump into this, get it over and done with, so you guys can get back to the celebrations. Here we go. We've got James Sicily and Amon highlighted there. And James Sicily, an interesting one to talk about, and it's all determined by his positioning. If we look at 2023, and yes, this is still on the Hawthorn because I'm whipping through these ones, all recorded basically on the same day. The whole argument is based on if Weddle or Sicily is the fourth defender, intercepting role, much to that of Blakey at Sydney. If Sicily gets that unaccountable role, he'll average 105. If he goes forward, he might be the worst fantasy drop in terms of average from 2024 to 2025 out of all the defenders in the comp. That's the whole debate, is where do we see him playing? And in my personal opinion, I think he goes forward. I think they need more help forward than they do down back. They've got Barras, they've got Battle, they've got Scrimshaw, they've got Frost still, they've got Blank that can fill in there. Whereas if you look at the guys up forward, you start to go, isn't Mitchell Lewis just injured still? Guys like that are just like, they're relying on Marbiel Chol and guys like that who are decent, but they're not like all-Australian level or anything like that. Whereas James Sicily probably could kick 40 goals a year, 45 goals a year as a forward. Like, genuinely could do that. I know he swung forward a little bit in these sort of finals games, and you look here and you go, he did really well there. So, it's an interesting debate to be had. I'm intrigued to see which way they go with it. I think he'll probably average about 60 as a forward, which will be absolutely horrendous if he does, coming off an 88 year. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. As a forward, I don't expect him to score too well, given that when he does go forward, he genuinely hasn't actually. He's 103 is his best game, I think, as a goal-scoring forward. So, that's in 2024. So, I don't necessarily like the looks of that, to be honest with you, a little bit, as those are the games where he genuinely played forward. Even this one, you could sort of say he played a little bit forward. This one maybe teensy bit, but still in the 7 games there, 88.6. And then he hasn't gone forward since probably this game here, I would say. And this game here as well, he played a little bit forward, and you can just see the average just skyrockets downwards. So I would hope for people out there that he doesn't play as a forward, as I think this sort of run here sort of shows the best of what he can do as a forward. And looking at this run here, take away that game there, you can basically see him as a forward averaging, I would say, in the 60s, if not lower than that, to be honest with you, just looking at that. So Sicily as a forward, no. Sicily as a defender, yes. Simply put. Then we go back to here, and you'll see that Carl Amon, I'm skipping over, I don't think he's got much value. Impey, no. Battle, no. Scrimshaw, no. Hardwick, no. Don't think he's got any value either. I think he's just going to turn into a lockdown defender. Weddle could be valuable. I did look at him, but I don't think the stats suggest too much of an increase. I think he's more of a damage per disposal type guy, and that doesn't really link up in fantasy. None of these guys, Frost, Sarong. Seamus Mitchell is the only guy that I've sort of considered. Maybe this was too much for a love for him a couple of years ago when he really went off for me. I think it was maybe in 2023. If we just look at this, I think he came in as basically a 200K first game, 64, and then I think I jumped on him. I want to say I jumped on him here in 2023. Early on, and he really did provide stuff until he got injured. He really provided 7 games, 68.7, and he really did provide a real boost of cash generation. But in 2024, we just haven't seen that from him, to be honest with you. Some really low scores. It will be interesting to see how he does, given that his VFL form when he does play for Box Hill It's absolutely amazing with the 160, 135, 139, etc. all coming in 2024. So yeah, his VFL form in 2024, if you look at it, 10 games, 99.3, 17 kicks, 8 handballs, 7.5 marks, 2.5 tackles. And in 2024 AFL, he averaged 34.8 from 10 games. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what happens with him in the AFL, but I just don't see him regaining that spot, to be honest with you. But he could be a guy that goes 70, 75, as he did in 2023 with a 63 from 14 games. Then we get down to their midfielders, already into their midfielders, just because there is no one of value. McDonald, no. Bodie Ryan, no. Blank. These guys are pretty much all talls, so just skip straight through them. Get to Jai Newcombe, slightly off in my Google Docs sheet. As you see here, Jai Newcombe, 85.8. He averaged from 23 games. He ended up averaging 88.3 from 25 games. So he's priced at 880k, I believe. Let me just double check that, as I don't think I may not have double checked their numbers. 85.8 times 10.26 is 880.3, so 880k it is. 2022 average 93.3. I know a lot of people did select him to start the 2024 season because they thought he'd take that next step, given that he was always on an upward climb, but it was bound to stop at one point. So yeah, he just had a horrific start to the year in 2024. You see here the first sort of 3, 4, 5 rounds. You see here, he averaged 69.5 in the first 5 rounds. But if you look at his end to the year, he really became that main man in the midfield for the likes of Hawthorn. In the last 4 games, he averaged 114.8, and you can extend that out. In the last 8 games of the year, he averaged 100.8. That's including finals. So I think he can take that next step. Whether he will, just with the midfield and Will Day returning to it, it's a wonder, but we'll just have to see. He did have a massive year in 2022, averaging 93.3 with pretty similar numbers across the board, just with an extra little bit of kicking and it looks like marking a little bit, and that's about it. Not much, to be honest, difference between their 2022 and 23 and 24 campaigns. To be honest with you, just looking at it, not much difference at all. A little bit up in the goals and the behinds, as well as a little bit better in the free kick differential. But yeah, other than that, not much difference. So maybe he can return to his best. We'll just have to wait and see. And then we go down to Will Day, I think is the next guy. I almost skipped over him just then. D'Ambrosio, no one is going to pick him, I don't think, as I think he's sort of shown his top as a winger. Warple, I don't think will ever get to like a 90, 95 guy again, especially with the return of Will Day. Then you've got Will Day. Will Day is an intriguing one just because of 2023. Is 2023 just an outlier year? 68 in 5 games in 21, 60.7 in 17 games in 22, 74.1 in 16 games in 2024. But in 2023, 95.3 in 21 games. So he had a very down, if you just look at it from 23 to 24, the transition there, he went from 95 to 74. Removing injury games and the returning games from injury, and he averaged 86.3 from 12 games, which is plus 12 on what he's priced at. He's currently priced at 74.1, which is 760k, I believe. With a full preseason under his belt, I feel like he can return to the mid-90s or even hit the low 100s, which could be massive for the price he's priced at. The only problem is the early buy and other mid prices could be more valuable, but we do get to watch him in round 0 and watch his role. So what I'm referring to there is basically that Sam Doherty and guys like that are in and around that 70 to 75 range, like within 50k of Will Day. So I'm just worried that Will Day, we get caught up on him being like, oh, he's going to return to like a 95, whereas you've got Sam Doherty returning to 100, who's sitting there without the early buy. So I feel like this one's going to be a numbers game on round 0 and having a break-even number to be like, yep, we want him at this now that he's gone over that number in round 0. But he does come up against the Swans, who will target him, I suspect, with a tag from James Jordan. So that's why he may not be a guy that I look at to this year. So we got through those guys. Cam McKenzie, I don't think I mentioned him. No, I just don't see him being that type of guy that can generate a lot. I feel like he's just a winger that's going to average maybe 75, which is up, but I just have a feeling he's not going to be too far up. Harry Morrison, no thank you. And then we get to Josh Ward. Josh Ward, 2022, 14 games, 71.6. 2023, 16 games, 74.9. 2024 VFL, 11 games, 107.9. Let's go to it actually and just show you what I was talking about. Josh Ward. There you go. 11 games for Box Hill, 107.9. 9 100 plus scores, 3 120 plus scores, 14.7 kicks per game, 11.9 handballs per game, 6 marks, 5.3 tackles. Absolutely huge numbers. In the AFL in 2024, 12 games, 59.6 average. 8 kicks, 6.9 handballs, 4.1 marks, 2.3 tackles, and a CBA rate of 24%, which is down on his 2022 numbers and roughly par with his 2023 numbers. I feel like I should actually go and sort of show you what I'm looking at here with Josh Ward. Here you go. So for those watching along on YouTube, you can see the stats now on DFS on here, and you can sort of see that if you look at him when he plays on ball in 2024, when he plays fully on ball, he's a 76.5 guy. When he plays slightly on ball, it drops down to a 64 flat. And no CBA time in that 46 either. So when he plays above 40% CBAs, let's just look at this. Above 30% CBAs will do. Above 30% CBAs, look at this. No, we'll do 35%. We'll be a little bit cheeky and do 35%. So look at that. If we just look at this, 2022, 39, 75, 73, 48, 48. So he averages 74.2 in 15 games when he goes above 34% CBAs or whatever. So it just shows to you, and to me at least, that, and we can cancel this out and get him up to 40% CBAs. And I think the same thing will apply. Yep, 74 when he's above 40% CBAs in 9 games across the years. Shows that when he's on ball, he does a lot better, simply puts. And so, will he get that role at Hawthorn? Maybe, maybe not, because they've got Connor Nash there. They've got all these other guys there. James Warple's probably ahead of him, but I could see him getting a wing role and averaging like 65. But that's just not good enough. So he's a guy that I want to watch in round 0, because at that mid-price range, if he balloons off and goes crazy, he could absolutely be a steal at 570k. Which is round about his price tag, 575, we'll call it in the notes there. Then you have Cody Anderson, another midfielder from Hawthorn. We can go through this. CJ No at 48. Henry Hustwaite is priced off his 2023 number, which I believe is 62. So I think he's actually priced higher in 2025 than he is in 2024, with just how the mechanism of the system works, which sucks, but it is what it is. Cody Anderson, actually looking at this, is the last guy I want to actually talk about from Hawthorn. So we'll spend a little bit of time on him. So all these years of Coates leagues, I'm pretty sure. Let me just check. Let me just put down these in notes, because he is only 18, I think, just turned 18. But yeah, he is a guy that I'm intrigued about. I'm pretty sure came from their NGA. And I don't expect him to get a game, but I really like his output as an underager. If we look at this and go to here, go to Cody Anderson, 1 game in 2024 in the VFL. He averaged 68. In the Coates Talent League, Cody Anderson averaged 91.2 in 11 games. You can see here 12.2 kicks, 10.4 handballs, 2.6 marks, 5.7 tackles. Absolutely huge. If we go to his Rookie Me profile, because I'm going to spend a little bit of time on him, even though I don't expect him to get games, I just want to make this video around that 20-minute mark. 183 centimeter midfielder, a strong inside midfielder who prides himself on defensive work. And yeah, he's put together an impressive season. If we look at his strength, competitiveness, defensive pressure, inside game strength, tackling work rate, and his improvements are his decision-making, outside game, and skills. So he's got really good numbers on the inside. The problem is inside midfielders don't really translate well, especially if they don't have an outside game. So given what I'm seeing here in his strength, it doesn't really look like he's going to be a guy that translates well early on, which kind of sucks and kind of makes this almost segment a little bit useless, because I don't think he's going to debut. But he's a guy that I'm definitely looking at in the future. And yeah, he's definitely just a really strong tackler. So I mean, the strong tackling does help him, because those guys tend to also, like Will Graham, I think it was. I think that's the Gold Coast Sun player that came in through their academy. He's a guy that I think Cody Anderson could look very much similar to. And he averaged 58.6. If you get 58.6 from Cody Anderson, that's a plus 35. I just don't expect him to play it. I'll talk a lot more with the Hawthorn guys as well. And I forgot to put this for all the other guys. Remember to put your sort of team best 23s, etc. if you support these clubs. For Hawthorn guys, I'll talk to a lot of other Hawthorn fans just to see who they think, etc. But I don't think he's getting the start early. I think he's a couple back from starting, but definitely a guy that I'm looking at in the near future, in the 2025, 2026, as I think he's a guy that definitely has the skills to be able to do it, given if we look at his Vic Metro, didn't do much, but for Eastern Rangers, he did 22, 2 and 5, which is pretty good numbers, to be honest, in the Coats. And you can see here as well, he's played Coats for 3 years now. So anyway, that is let me just show you as well why I'm skipping over the rest of these guys. Meek, no, in the ruck, I don't think so. I know he had an outstanding finish to the year, but I just feel like Koning is the one for me at the moment. Meek is probably one that I will add his stats to. His finals averaged 112, but it was really just going off in one game against the Western Bulldogs and dominating Tim English, because he got 6 and 5. He got the tackles up as well as a huge hit out numbers. But yeah, if you look at his sort of end to the season anyway, when he got full ruck time, if we just look at this and look at when's the ruck contest of these ones here. So let's just click on any time he's had over 70% ruck time, and you look at this and you go, there's not too much upside, I don't think. It's not like it's not like Tristan Cherry. He averaged 90.6. It's not like Tristan Cherry. If you look at Tristan Cherry's numbers, which we'll get into in the North recap, North recap in a couple of days, I think. If you look at that, he actually wasn't getting full-time ruck, whereas those are full-time ruck numbers for 90.6, averaging 90.6 fantasy points. Pretty much all his games, 2023, all his games this year were full-time ruck. So if you wanted to put that up to 80 and him having more ruck time, then you start to get, I think, a little bit better numbers, but not terribly much better, I don't think, is what my intuition would say. Yeah, 97.3 is actually a little bit better, but I don't think he'll have that type of games, as I think, Weddle is training as a ruck, so maybe he gets more time, but even in this, you've seen games where he has 77, 75, 76, 70, so he sort of transitions in and out of that a little bit more, especially with Weddle being there. I think Weddle was more trialled as a ruckman in the back half of this year, so I think he sort of will make him play similar in the back half of this year, which, if we just look at that quickly, you'll see here, what was his average in the back half of this year? It was a 91.5, which I think is roughly where numbers are suggesting he'll go. 90 to 94 is what I suspect out of Lloyd Meek. So that's why he's a no-go for me, especially with the early buy. Reeves, no. Dylan Moore, he's just a guy we pick up later. Early buy sort of kills him starting anyway. Connor McDonald, no, don't think he takes any midfield time, and he's probably just going to stay on the wing. That's why I didn't include him. Ginnivan, no. Chol, no. Gunston, no. Nick Watson, no. McGuinness, no. Lewis, no. Kalshadir, all these guys are talls. And Scaife as well. And that is it. So, that is the video there. Hawthorn, a good timely video. 18 and a half minutes so far. So, really well timed, I think. And so if you did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. And for those listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and you will know when I upload over there as well. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for, which one is it? Who is up next? The Melbourne Demons are up next. So I'll see you guys in that preview tomorrow. Bye guys.